This video will cover how to get a new Sample Manager instance configured. We'll cover how to understand your data, how to configure your sources, samples, and assay types, and setting up your storage units. Here, I'm in a brand new instance of Sample Manager. Right now, there aren't any data structures set up, and it's completely empty. To get my server ready for the lab, I'm using my data structure help spreadsheet that we share with new clients. This spreadsheet helps new users to visualize their data and the relationships they share. And the first tab will list out all of the different categories of data we want to capture, like sources, samples, and assays. We'll use the diagram to illustrate the flow in which data is captured. In the tabs below, we'll start documenting what information should belong with each category of data, going from top to bottom in our diagram. The first tab I named Study. Here I listed out all of the different data fields I want to capture that will be associated with the studies I register in Sample Manager. I can also indicate the type of data I want to capture. Are these data fields date fields, free text, or text choice? If it's a text choice, I'll list out all my different options on the same row. In Sample Manager, we don't limit the number of data fields you have, so feel free to list out as many as you need. Once I'm done outlining the source type, I'll move down the diagram with each category and fill out the needed data fields, which data fields are required, and the data field type. I'll do the same for our assay types. However, please note that our assays are only available in Sample Manager Professional. You may not need to follow this step. For our assays, we further split our data into two different categories: run data and result data. Our run data is the data that's going to be applied to every sample that's being tested in that specific run. This is usually something like the date the samples were tested, the test kit that was used, or the operator performing the tests. Our result data will be the data that's unique to each sample, such as the test results or well position. From there, I'll go ahead and indicate the storage units we have in the lab, outlining the number of shelves, racks, drawers, boxes, or bags that are in each storage unit. In this example, the first freezer is standardized, with each shelf having the same number of racks and each rack having the same number of boxes. The second freezer is a bit more varied, with different number of racks per shelf, a different number of boxes per rack, and different sizes of boxes. Now that our spreadsheet is filled out, let's get this configured in Sample Manager. Again, we'll start at the top of our diagram and work our way down. To register our sources, let's open the dashboard and click Create a Source Type. We'll type in the name of the source, in this case Study. We'll then enter in our naming pattern. For our naming pattern, you can hover over the question mark for more details on how our naming patterns work. Then we'll scroll down to Fields. We'll uncheck any default field we don't want, and then beginning the data fields we do want. If the data field is required, we'll mark the required checkbox. We'll also indicate the type of data we're entering. If it's a text choice data field, we'll click the arrow next to the data field's name, select Add Values, and enter each option we want to have. Each option should be on its own line. Once you're done, click Finish Creating Source Type. We'll be sure to check for any issues with your data fields or naming patterns when you go to save your source type. Resolve any issues, then finish creating your source type. We'll continue this process for any remaining sources we have. To add a new source, go to the dashboard, click Sources, click Create Source Type. We'll go ahead and register our second example source, Patient. On this source, we'll create a lineage setting. This will allow us to associate our patients with specific studies. Click Add a Parent Source. Select the source type you wish to have, and enter in a name that your users will recognize. This name is usually the name of the source type itself. Continue on with this process as before. Once all of your source types are registered, we'll move on to registering our sample types. Again, following the diagram's order. Open the dashboard, click Create a Sample Type. This process is very similar to creating a source type. I'll input the sample type's naming pattern and the naming pattern of any aliquots from the sample type. I'll also register the lineage settings. You'll also only need to register the lineage relationship directly above the sample or source type you're working on. The sample or source type you're working on will automatically inherit grandparent lineages. In this example for blood, I'm only setting up a relationship with my patient source type. This blood sample will automatically inherit the study relationship from the parent source. I can then change this label color for the sample type. I can also change the display units, such as milliliters or grams. You'll also notice that there are more system default fields. In your data spreadsheet, check to see if any of these system default fields should be used instead. In my example, volume and amount are interchangeable. Add the remaining data fields you need, and then finish creating sample type. Continue with this process until you've added every sample type. Now that our sample types are added, let's add our assay design. Open the dashboard and click Create an Assay Design. This process is very similar similar to registering source types and sample types. Here, you can mark if your assay runs or assay results can be edited. Then, I'll enter in my run data fields, the information that will be applied for every sample in this assay run. I'll then enter in my result data fields. In the result data fields, you must have a data field that references a sample ID, so we know which sample the test results are being applied to. In this field, you can click the arrow by the field name and indicate the sample type that will be associated with these assays. Continue adding data fields as you would for a source or sample type. Once finished, click Finish Creating Assay Design. Add whichever other assays you need. Now we'll go ahead and register our storage units. In the drop-down, click Create Storage. You can enter in the name, model, temperature, and storage unit location, like a room or a building. In Storage Hierarchy, click Bulk Add. Add your first shelf, name it whatever you'd like, indicate however many subsections are in the shelf, like racks or drawers. Then indicate however many terminal storage units are inside the subsection. Once you know the specifics of your shelf, click Apply. If you click the drop-down arrows, you can see all of your drawers and boxes were added. If you want to add another shelf with the same breakdown, click the 2 squares to copy. This will then copy all drawers and boxes within that shelf. Once you're happy with your freezer, click Finish Creating Storage. If you have a freezer that looks just like the one you made, you can go to that freezer from the dashboard, click Manage, click Copy Storage Unit. Or you can create new freezers from scratch. Once all your storage units are finished, congratulations, you finished setting up the very basics of Sample Manager. Now, you will want to import your historical data, add electronic lab notebook templates, workflow templates, and set up appropriate user permissions. For videos on these, be sure to check out our channel and hit the subscribe button. If you still need help setting up Sample Manager, please don't hesitate to contact us at help@labkey.com.